Greetings, everyone. Welcome to day 23 of the 30 Days of Halloween. I wanted to say before I begin that I feel badly that I have not answered the comments or questions that have been coming up every day with these videos. It's a little overwhelming. I have a lot of time already tied up in these videos and making them and editing them and uploading them, as well as doing my other life, my other life stuff. But I'm reading every one of your comments, and I'm making note of your questions, and I appreciate them. Please keep them coming. I'm going to try really hard. By the weekend, I hope I have time to answer comments and answer questions. But because I appreciate you so much. I love that you're watching. I love that you're liking what I'm doing. I like that you're asking questions and giving me suggestions for what you would like to see in the future. I really love that. I'm hoping to get to know some of you personally if I have an opportunity to do that too. Maybe we could do some fun things on Zoom or something like that. I've been getting orders into my email for items and for readings and things, and I'm getting to them as quickly as I can. But my time is so limited. I just have to tell you right now, until we get through October, my time is very limited. I also want to tell you that I'm sharing my computer and my internet and my Zoom sessions with my husband, who teaches piano through Zoom. So some of the times I can't even be on the computer. He's using the computer and the cameras or the space for his lessons. I'm just telling you that because I want to make sure. I hope I'm not hurting anybody's feelings by not answering. And I know some people are getting irritated that I am not answering. I really appreciate it. I just want to say I really am appreciative of all your support for what I'm doing. And it feels really good. I'm hearing from a lot of you every day. I feel like I almost know you but I don't know you because I can tell by your questions, what you're getting out of this. I'm trying not to. I know there's some people overseas too, overseas. Why do I sound really old when I say something like overseas? But located in other countries, when I mention things like the Whoppers, you don't know what I'm talking about, and I apologize for that. Whoppers are chocolate-covered malted milk balls. I will tell you that. Inside is a crunchy malted milk candy flavor and chocolate covered. That's all that is. And by the way, those cookies came out delicious. I had a taste and it worked really well for the peanut butter. I just want to say, if you've seen that recipe, that video. I'm aware also that I am having many people who are watching me who are new to including the concepts of Samhain into their maybe already Halloween rituals that they already have. The Halloween side, the decorations and the spider cookies and those kind of things. Maybe some of you that are familiar with those kind of things are new to the idea of Samhain and including Samhain, the spiritual side, the magical side, into your Halloween. And I realize that I might be overwhelming some of you that are new, and I hope I'm not doing that. I'm trying really hard not to. I hope I'm emphasizing every day that I'm just coming up with something interesting to talk about for Halloween, and it's for me mostly, or Samhain. I like to do, this is a different kind of celebration this year than it's ever been. I usually spend the whole weekend in ritual. We have, with the group that I'm involved with, we have ritual one night and a big feast, and the next night we have a big Halloween party with a big group of people. That's just something that we've done every year, or I've done things with my other friends, my SCA friends, doing some celebration that way, or with my family. And none of those things are happening this year. So I'm trying to be creative and trying to make it a little fun for everybody. That's what I'm doing. But I have to say, I'm trying to make it happy for me. I don't want to be depressed. It's hard. This is a hard time for all of us. So I'm just throwing out ideas. I don't expect you to include all of the ideas or any of the ideas. I want to inspire you, however, to decide if you want to include Samhain, into Halloween, your Halloween this year. You could simplify your life a little bit if you chose what parts of Samhain you want to incorporate. For many, it's just the witch's new year. Some people aren't spiritual at all. For others, it's just welcoming the dark. It's working with the dark, beginning that time of the year that is so dark that they're doing a lot of shadow work and things like that. And for others, it is a time to communicate with ancestors or to communicate with spirits. Okay? So there's a lot of different things involved. You don't have to incorporate all those things. I'm also very sensitive to the fact that many of you are what we call in the closet, that you have to be careful that you don't want your friends or your family that even see photographs that you share. Maybe they're not at your home this year because of your quarantine, but I don't think everybody's quarantined the same that we are here. I'm not sure at this point, and by Halloween, who knows? By Samhain, who knows? But maybe you just want to be, or maybe your spouse or your roommates, are not aware of what you're doing, your spiritual practice or your interest in it. You can be really subtle, you can be really subtle about it. If you want to do just the harvest time kind of Samhain, celebrate Samhain by, using fall colors or fall decorations in your seasonal decorations in your home. Put some pumpkins on the porch, put some, use autumn colors, maybe buy some candles that are different colors in autumn colors, or the colors, or just adding candles to your world, or black candles. Black candles, a lot of people use black candles because of the darkness. You remember I had a fun dinner party last year at Navon. I had a black dinner where I had black food and black tablecloth and black napkins, and we all dressed in black, and I had people at that party that were not Wiccan. I had people at the party that, they were very open to it, but it wasn't by any means a celebration of Wicca or a celebration of Samhain or the Wheel of the Year. It was a celebration of welcoming the darkness. And we did talk about darkness, and we did talk about shadow work. We had we drew some tarot cards and did a little bit of shadow work, just fun dinner table kind of shadow work, nothing too serious. We also did some fun things for welcoming the dark, I had some dark humor jokes in a bowl that everybody picked one and had to read for the table, which were hilarious because some of them were really kind of stupid, but very dark humor. There's a lot of fun activities you can do to celebrate the season and still just be in the closet if that's what you're looking for. Okay? If you want to talk to your ancestors, you don't have to set up an ancestor altar. You don't have to do that. There's a lot of things you can do to honor your ancestors and try to tune into your ancestors. And one of the things is just having photographs of them around. Bring those out. Everybody has some kind of photograph of ancestors, or at least a time. You can locate a picture of the time that they were alive, or maybe an item that belonged to them. Or flowers that they loved, or scents, whatever. So I wanted to talk to you just a little bit about maybe some activities that you can do that maybe you're not thinking about doing. As a matter of fact, when we get closer to Samhain, I'm gonna share. My husband and I are gonna share something that we like to do that's a little new, maybe to some of you. But there's so many different things you can do. One of the things you can do, we talk about the ritual fires at Samhain. The fires were, they used the fires, of course, to burn their crops that they didn't want the fairies to get, or the spirits, the Ishita that we talked about, that the day to come and take their crops, but they yet wanted to leave an altar, an offering to the gods. They wanted to leave an offering to maybe the Ishita. They wanted protection for their animals. They wanted protection for themselves and their homes and their loved ones. So they would do these ritual fires where they would burn some things. We did a real fun thing one year. I talked about it. We had some friends over who absolutely were not witches at all. They were just friends. But we had a fire and we did some fun things with the fire. And my husband just cut these little rounds of wood from a log. We always have wood because we burn wood for heat in the winter, but he just cut a bunch of this and we just had them in a basket there with a Sharpie pen. We had a little fire, and we had these for a bale fire. We call it a bale fire. We just had a little fire. We had in a fire pit, but you can have a fire in a fireplace or a fire in a cauldron. Some of you people have, it's cold where you are. I don't have fire in my fireplace. I wish I did this year, but it's just not cold enough to make my house too hot. I'm still hoping, because I was going to cook for you in the fireplace, but we'll see. I think it just might be too hot. But anyway, I think we did this in the fire pit, but this you could do in a cauldron, especially a big cauldron or something that's fireproof. Have a little fire, and people just wrote. I'm sorry, the fan is blowing the hair right into my eyes. It's really annoying. They just wrote with a Sharpie something that they wanted to be rid of. Something they wanted to be rid of. Something they wanted to, bury, so to speak, burn. Like a bale fire, I think, is historically, I don't know if I just said that or not, it's used for a funeral pyre. But it's also used for this kind of a ritual, we could call it a ritual, where you erase the mistakes that you've made, or you just want to move beyond something. You want to just rid yourself of something in your life. Write it on a piece of wood, say your intention, and toss it in the fire. It's a fun thing to do as an activity with people. It's a great thing to do alone. You could also use pieces of paper, throw them in, especially if it's like a cauldron or something that you're going to burn in. I never want people to put too much paper in a fire pit or in a fireplace. I mean, we do put little pieces in there from time to time. But putting paper in a fire like that makes ash. The ash flies out and can land in your house somewhere, or on people around you and burn their clothes, or burn them, or, burn your carpet. You got to be careful about that. So if you get something like wood, it's really easy to do. But you could use a popsicle stick. Use the popsicle stick right on a popsicle stick. Throw it in the fire. Okay. You can do that without calling attention to anything, right? You can have new candles. They don't have to be black, but just get out new candles. Get new candles out, light new candles for the new year. Happy New Year, okay? You can do some cleansing with sage is fine, but you don't have to burn sage and smudge your home and things if you don't want to do that. You can use a spiritual cleansing through incense. You could take incense, take an incense of your choosing, or some essential oil, on a heat source, on a tea light. How you burn essential oil, that will, and take it throughout your living space and cleanse your home. Okay, you can leave things lit. We're gonna have something. We're gonna light. Personally, we're gonna have lit candles for Samhain, and I'm gonna show you that later, not today, but another day. How we leave lights out for the spirits to find their way if they want to come and visit. But that's the whole idea of the jack-o'-lantern in the first place. Some of the incense that you want, I'll go into this later. Let me keep going here. With another activity, first of all. Divination. You can do divination. We've talked about that before through tarot. You don't have to read. If you're new to tarot, those of you who are new to tarot cards, just get out a few of the cards in your tarot deck that you're speaking to for some reason, or that you deal for some reason. If you want to do a simple reading, take 3 cards. Take 3. You don't even have to ask any questions. Shuffle your cards well, and do a little bit of, concentrate what your intention is for this time of the year, what your hopes are for this time of the year. Take out 3 cards, and just put them on a table. Put them out somewhere where you can study them and see what you get out of those for the next week or whatever. Okay. Do some divination that way, or runes. Maybe you've never done runes or scrying. Those of you who have never tried scrying, this is a really good time to try scrying. You can do scrying with steam, with a candle with steam. You could do scrying with a dark mirror, dark water. Just soften your gaze, soften your glaze. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, I think, tomorrow. I might mention scrying a little bit tomorrow because it's a really good exercise um, for tomorrow's subject. But it's a good activity that you can do this time of year by yourself. You don't have to worry. Nobody's going to bother you about it. You can do, of course, meditation, we said. You can bury apples. Remember I talked to you about feeding the hungry spirits along your walk or by your front door. You know, on Samhain Eve, bury an apple or pieces of apple or put them in a pot, or just leave a plate out. Remember what I told you about, I don't know if you recall, but I was saying the ofrendas, the food that's put out on ofrendas for the Dia de los Muertos celebration, they don't believe that the dead are actually consuming the food. They believe the spirit of the dead is consuming the essence of the food. And then whatever food is left they can eat. So you could do the same thing, or you can just dispose of the food. We're putting food out for an ancestor, their favorite food. Dumb supper. I never went into the dumb supper too much. I'm kind of running out of days. I don't know that I'm going to get to dumb supper. But I can tell you what it is. Simply, it's done in a lot of different ways. And a very simple way to do it is just whatever your meal is that you're going to enjoy on Samhain, to just make, especially if it's a food that your ancestor really loved, or your dead relative or whoever really loved, it was one of their favorites. Set a place for that person respectfully. Invite them to the table. Put a place card, a name, place card on there. Say this is for Harry or whoever. Invite him, welcome him to the table. And then when you eat, particularly if you're going to eat a special food, often we'll serve the food and we will serve ourselves. And then we will sit in silence with Harry. Just sit in silence with Harry while we're eating that. We might, as a preface to that, or to follow up on that, share stories of Harry. That's not a dumb supper. Dumb means you're not speaking. But once you start speaking, you're not having a dumb supper technically. But if you wish to speak, you could just share stories about Harry, jokes about Harry, or just speak to Harry. You can speak. Oh, Harry, I was just thinking about the time we did blah blah blah. Wasn't that a lovely thing? Anyway, you have your meal. Then at the conclusion, you thank Harry for coming. And most importantly, remember I said this before, you say goodbye to Harry. You say goodbye. I'm so glad to see you. I'm sorry you have to go, but hopefully we'll see you another time. Thank you for coming. I love you. Goodbye. Goodbye. Okay? Goodbye. The internet is just flooded with all kinds of, you can Google in correspondences, magical correspondences, to see what kind of colors you should be using, what kind of flowers, what kind of incense, what kind of stones, what kind of everything. It's overwhelming. I thought I would just go through the list a little bit and just show you the kind of things that I select to use and tell you why I use them. And the number one of reason that I use anything is because it's what I have, or what I have access to, or what I find that really works for me. In the beginning, that's why people, everybody does it that way, and you're going to find, like for instance, I think one of the first things I ever really started intentionally working with, two things actually. One was rosemary, because I have a giant bush of rosemary. I had a giant rosemary bush in my yard. It was massive. When my daughter got married, my oldest daughter got married 23 years ago or something like that. As part of her wedding reception, we took cuttings. I made a little pot. There were little potted herbs on all of the tables at the reception, which I potted all of those herbs. And the rosemary, I remember, the rosemary was from our bush. We took cuttings off of the bush and passed it on. And her next door neighbor took that home and planted it and still had it. As a matter of fact, something happened to our rosary bush just several years ago. And I was devastated because it died for some reason. And I was so upset about it. Well, her neighbor had her cutting from my bush grown up and gave me a cut and gave me a piece of that bush. So I have my own, like, grandchild bush, I guess. If mine was a parent and hers was a child, mine's the grandchild. Now, growing in the garden, it's a pretty good size. But I have rosemary. I cook with it, I use it, and it's so magical. It has so many properties. It has wonderful properties to it. Okay, so I'm looking at my Book of Shadows here. It's one of the ones that I always use. I always use it at Samhain, always. And I'm going to tell you that because rosemary, you can buy rosemary in the grocery store. If you don't have a bush, you can buy it. And you can even buy like the little herb packets in the herb packet where it's fresh. Usually, most places, I think you can. But if you can't, there's dried rosemary, same thing. But I use it in my Samhain blend always. I change my blends up from time to time, but I use it all the time because most people consider it, of course it's known for remembrance, but most people consider it a very, very strong protection from evil spirits. In England, it was burned in the homes of those who died from illness and placed in coffins before the grave was filled with dirt. Traditionally, bundles of rosemary hung by your front door may keep harm for people from entering your home. So you don't have to put up a witch's purse and hang it over your door. You can put up a little bundle of some herbs. Just tie a little bundle of herbs and or just a bundle of rosemary. Tie it up by your door. It smells lovely. Don't even consider it. People aren't going to worry about that. Another thing you could include is sage. Now, it doesn't have to be California white sage. It can be any kind of sage. Include that in your little bundle. Sage, of course, is very cleansing. It will cleanse the space of negative energy or negative spaces, anything present. It's a really good thing. We use California white sage all the time, and it's very famous for its cleansing properties. Magical properties, but it doesn't have to be California white sage. There are many, many varieties of sage. All of them are very good. We just happen to have California white sage growing like crazy here in California. It grows wild. I have it in my, I've shown you in the past, I have it in my front yard. So of course that's what I use. But any kind of sage works well, okay? And again, that's available at the grocery store. So those are really wonderful things. I also always include mugwort, which has been used since Anglo-Saxon Britain to cure people who had fallen victim to elf shot, which is just anything that happened to them. Well, they considered that elf shot caused by elves, right? They had everything was blamed on the fae, or on the the evil, the naughty fairies, the troublesome fairies or whatever. A lot of people will take mugwort and heat up a stone in the fireplace, sprinkle it with mugwort, and then adding water to create steam off of that for people to inhale. That was from a 9th century herbal book. They've been using these things for so many centuries. I've been saying that. I often use catnip. Patchouli. I use patchouli all the time. I love patchouli. But patchouli I use to attract things. I want to repel certain things. Patchouli I use to attract. So it might help the ancestors come. And of course, I've already told you the copal. That's what they use on the ofrendas, copal, which cleanses the air and makes it easier for communication. Also, clove can help purify the air, and there's some kind of a spiritual vibration produced in the air from burning clove, so that's good. And ash bark is a kind of wood used to form a link between the living and the dead. So those are the things from my Book of Shadows that I always usually include if I make a blend. Okay. Again, see what's available to you. If you have something in your possession, look it up on the internet. You can find, put up magical correspondences of fill in the blank. And you're going to see so many of them that you're going to find something that you're going to be able to use. You could also go to the store. You can also go online and buy incense sticks or incense cones, whatever you want to use. I want to talk about, let's see what else. What did I miss? Okay. I want to talk about stones, and then I want to show you a little project that I'm working on. I'll tell you why in a minute. But first of all, I want to talk about stones. People ask about stones they want to put on their altars or things like that, or just have. What are good stones? I'm starting to get a lot of people interested in my bracelets and things, and what kind of stones they want. Again, you need to do some research yourself, or just spend some time with some stones and see. You can go into a shop. If you can go into a shop where they have, stones, of course you're going to pay a price. Most of those are really expensive. But you go and you pick up a stone and you see how it makes you feel. How does it make you feel? Here I got it. This is something that I use without stop. I don't know if you can see what this is. I hope I can show you. This black stone with spots. It has spots. Can you see the spots? Okay. This is, first of all, it's obsidian, and all obsidian is really good. It shields against any kind of negativity. It's actually glass. It's not even stone. It's made from I think something about a volcano. It's come from something, it's formed through a volcano, I think. But at any rate, it strengthens the spirit while healing the body and shielding against negativity. That's basically why this is a good stone for this time of the year. But snowflake obsidian, this particular kind of obsidian, I use all the time because it is a strong protector for women. I have this on altars. I have here's a little one. I have little pieces like this kind of size. Can you see that? Maybe to see the little spots on that better, I don't know. That kind of size. That you can carry, put in your pocket, put in a witch's purse, put in put it anywhere. Or I also, on this bracelet, I include it a lot of times on my bracelets. This bracelet I wear a lot. This is rose quartz and snowflake obsidian. I have a snowflake obsidian because as I'm drawing things in, I want to shield myself from drawing too much in. Remember, I'm an empath, so I have to be careful about that. Okay. I also wear carnelian, which carnelian is really good. This bracelet is carnelian, and this is combined with bloodstone. Carnelian is really good to aid in perception and help with focus and balance, which, that's me. I'm out of whack all the time. And helps to connect with the spirit. So this is a really good bracelet. I'll wear this a lot when I'm reading. And the bloodstone, this stem in the middle, it's really lovely. It helps to purify space, and it's a good stone. It's called the Justice Stone. So I like this too. If I was going to talk to a spirit, or try to contact a spirit, perhaps it's someone, a loved one, or somebody that maybe did you ever lose somebody that you weren't on the best terms with? Or you think they died before you were able to tell them you were sorry for something, or to thank them for something. This is a good stone to maybe help open that channel to allow you to do that. Okay, so that's why I have that stone. Smoky quartz is really good to help guard against psychic attack, or use to connect with other spirits. It's really great. And jet, I don't have my jet. I have a piece of jet somewhere. I think I have it in my tarot box, to be honest. Because I mentioned, I don't even know if anybody was watching me then. I don't know how many years ago. Maybe when I first started my channel, probably 6 or 7 years ago. I might have mentioned an experience that I had going into and I think I've mentioned this experience a couple times, going into a shop, a local shop here, where there's a very powerful witch that owns this shop. I'm on good terms with this person now, and I really have come to really love and adore this person. But for many years, I was kind of scared of her because she was so powerful. She knew her stuff, and she has a really quick temper. But the first experience I had going into that shop, I walked in, and I wear a lot of amber. I wear more. I don't wear as much as I did, but I mean a lot. Like, I wear necklaces of amber. I have a lot of amber because I have it both for the SCA, and I love it. But I had some bracelets of amber, and I had some necklaces of amber. I had a lot of amber. And I walked into the shop, and she said, "Oh, girl, you have something going on. You really got something going on." She's the one that told me, just from looking at me, she knew I was an empath. She knew I had stuff, energies coming at me as fast as anything. She could see them. She could see them. She could see everything around me, buzzing around me from other people and whatever. And she said, "Girl, you gotta control. You gotta get yourself some protection. You gotta slow that down." And she told me, anytime that I wear a lot of amber in the future, include some jet, carry jet, or include jet jewelry of some kind on me. And I followed her advice, and I have that jet, and I'll tell you, it really helps me. Now, jet is not a stone. Jet, I wish I could show you, but it's just black. It's just a black. It's actually I think it's actually like a petrified wood. Well, it's not a petrified wood. It's made under pressure when wood is decaying and it's under extreme pressure. And the Romans even used jet to protect them from the evil eye. It's been used for centuries. It's very famous. And I had a lot of jet jewelry, not a lot of jet jewelry, but I had some jet jewelry because during the Victorian era, of course, Queen Victoria was famous for, she was in mourning for, 50 years, how many years she was in mourning, I don't know, a lot of years. And she wore all black, and her jewelry was even black. And that's when jet jewelry was very, very popular. I know this, I used to be an antique dealer. Jet jewelry was very popular, and I had some because my husband's grandmother was a true Victorian woman. His mother was a lot older than his mother could have been his grandmother. She was old enough to really be his grandmother. So and her mother, she was older when she had her. So this woman was quite elderly. She was a true Victorian. She lived in the Victorian era. So she had a lot of jet jewelry. And it's really good for mourning, but it's really good for if you have sadness, great sadness. If we're talking about the spirits, talking to the dead, if you have great sadness with somebody, you still are not. Many people lose loved ones and they just have trouble with the mourning. They just can't stop. They just can't. And I think we all have those friends on Facebook that their mother or somebody dies, and for years they're still going on and on and on about their dead mother, and not being able to move past it, and counting how many days their mother's been dead, or this is the anniversary of her death, or this is my dead mother in heaven. I have a friend who she talks about her dead mother, blessing her dead poor mother in heaven constantly. It's not that her mother wasn't a wonderful person, but it's that this poor woman who's now alive cannot move on from that. She can't move on. Something like jet is something that can help her a great deal. So if you're that kind of a person, look into getting yourself some jet, and maybe putting it so you have healing. So your ancestor altar, if you have an ancestor altar at all, or just photographs, put it with a photograph of your deceased person or something that belonged to them. Put it together with that, just beside your bed or anywhere, just so that or carry them in your pocket, carry them in your purse or something. A picture of your loved one and a little piece of jet, so that you can heal. Use this time to be able to heal those terrific hurts. Okay. Now, I seem to have been talking a long time, but I just want to show you one little thing. I am so adamant. If you only learn one thing from me, my whole series or my whole channel, please learn that I want you to do what works for you. We say that all the time, but people don't know what we mean. And I'm trying to give you examples. On your altar, on your ancestor altar, do you have to have black? Do you have to have orange? Do you have to have seasonal colors? No. Do you have your grandmother's tablecloth? Do you have your mother's napkins? Do you have a doily crocheted by your grandmother? Do you have your grandmother's apron? Do you have a handkerchief that maybe she had? Do you have a piece of fabric, a square of fabric from or an old dress that she wore that you could take a piece of fabric out of that? You know, I make dishcloths. I knit all of my dishcloths in my, and I think I might have told you that, all of the dishcloths that I use in my house, I knit using a pattern that my grandmother used to knit. And she used to knit me dishcloths. And now that she's deceased, I use her pattern, I use her knitting needles, and I make dishcloths. All my dishcloths are made from cotton, crushed cotton that I knit. They absorb very well. I love them. I just really love them, and that's what I do. I could use that on an altar. I could use one of those on the altar, even though she hasn't made it. I've made it with her pattern and her needles, and it doesn't even matter if I didn't have her pattern or her needles. I made it because of her. It connects me to her. It's something I can put on the altar if I wanted. Use your creativity. Use your creativity. That's what I'm doing today. I'm trying to just show you. Do you remember these little skulls? We had the Skullapalooza the other day, and there was a bag of assorted skulls, and there were some of these little tiny ones. They're like an inch long, these little skulls. And I said they have they have holes in them, so I could maybe string them as a garland or something. But then I want to put some, because I'm putting some skulls in my hall here. I'll show you that when we get closer, when it's all done. But I thought, I gotta do something with these little skulls. Well, but the hole goes from top to bottom. Top to bottom. So I thought, well, maybe because I have a candle, you might have seen it when I made the little ghost guy. A candle that is skulls stacked one on the other, one on the other. It's a candle, which I love those candles. But I thought, these are so cute stacked. Maybe I could do something with a candle and these little skulls. And I got, well, what the heck, and I thought, by the way, let's use them to welcome everybody. Remember the guy I had from my friends? With the bigger skull that I had the bird on the head that I painted with the peace sign and with the psychedelic flowers and love and, to welcome all my my deceased friends my age that all grew up hippies with me. We were all hippies together. I was thinking, what about the people that don't have, they weren't welcomed here on earth? That we weren't so welcoming because they were different. Perhaps they were gay, they were transsexual, they were bisexual. There was something different about them. This is a time where a lot of us are trying to be very sensitive to them. What about those deceased who have died? There were people that were suicide victims because of these things. I don't want to be judgy here, but I just want to say, I thought I got the idea, and probably also from the idea that I painted one of those big ones, Robin Egg Blue, for my father. I took these little skulls. I had my husband take them and paint them. They're hard to see that he's done it, what he's done, but he's actually painted them the colors of the rainbow. The colors of the rainbow. And I'm going to make something by stacking those. By stacking those one on the other in the colors of the rainbow to welcome, be inclusive, and welcome anyone who needs some welcoming that night. I want to do that. So he had to take, the hole wasn't quite big enough. We got these skinny skewers, and the hole wasn't quite big enough for him to get the skewer on there. So he just drilled the hole a little bigger, and it worked really fine. So my point is, I had these little skulls laying around, and I'm thinking, what can I do with them? What came to my mind? You're not going to find this on any internet page. You're just not going to find it. People don't have these laying around. We have all this spray paint in these colors. I certainly didn't buy it. And these are all the spray paint I have. I don't have blue represented, but I have some blue acrylic paint. So somebody's going to get painted blue later when I get off of here. So I have blue. I even had him do a black one. So we can do black and white. Because I thought that would look pretty too. Anyway, I'm just winging it. I'm winging it just like you're winging it. And I'm telling you, it's not because we don't have the special things or the expensive things it's because this way it's special to you, it's meaningful to you, it's your way of connecting on a very personal level. And that's what you want to do. You want this to be so personal of an experience. Right? And if I can inspire you to do that, that's what I want to do. Thank you so much for watching today. We're getting down to the end. Don't be overwhelmed. Have fun. Try to have fun. This is a time we all need to have a little bit of fun. Thanks for watching. I wish you blessings.